Something I've wanted to do ever since I started recording was to show one field over its entire course of the growing season. This is a bean field. We harvested it a couple weeks ago. We're getting ready to plant it to cabbage for next year. It's August right now, and so cabbage will transplant in a couple weeks, and it'll grow all through the winter, and we'll harvest it at the end of next summer. I just thought it'd be fun to, real quickly highlight each individual step, all the inputs we put into the field and all the work we do on it. And I think cabbage will be a good crop for that because it's pretty labor intensive and there's a lot going on. So yeah, I thought it'd be kind of interesting to show that.
We got the disc and rolling harrow hooked up to the tractor and went over the field twice to really chop up the plant material left from the previous bean planting. First time we left the rolling harrow raised up and back, but the second time we lowered it down to help bust up dirt clods.
Okay, now we're rototilling today. This is the last step of the ground prep before we plant. We're gonna plant pretty soon, the next couple days. I really like rototilling because it leaves us looking so nice. Almost leaves it looking perfect. Nice and smooth, and all the clods are busted up. We're using our auto steer on our big tractor here. This is the little display that tells you which track you're on and where you've worked and stuff. I know auto steer is getting to be more and more common, but it's still pretty freaking awesome to me. Never thought I'd be able to just sit in the tractor and let the tractor drive. I set it up so it leaves a furrow right in the middle of the rototiller, and I set up our passes so they're spaced right, so when we come back in and plant it, we already have our mark in the dirt where we're driving.
I was also incorporating some herbicide and insecticide as I rototilled. These specific chemicals can evaporate after they're sprayed and need to be worked into the top couple inches of soil pretty quickly. So I made a pass down and back on the sprayer and then jumped back in the tractor to work it in. And then after I finished rototilling and the ground was ready to plant, I had to spray everything again with a different pre-emergent herbicide that stays on top of the ground. I had a nice sunset to finish out the day. A couple days later is transplanting day. Plants come from the greenhouse in trays and are usually 2 or 3 inches tall. The people sitting on the transplanter pluck them one by one from the trays and drop them into the spinning cups, which open at specific intervals and drop the plants into the ground. This is hybrid cabbage, which means there's a female variety and a male variety, and then they cross-pollinate and produce a new variety with certain characteristics of both parents. When we're planting, we have to be really careful to keep the male and female plants separate and in the correct rows, which takes some work because they look exactly the same at this stage. There are many other things I'd rather be doing on the farm than transplanting. They're long, tiring days under the August sun, but it does feel good to have a perfect stand of 4-week-old cabbage in the field growing after a day or two's work.
Getting it planted. We're planting really nice. Not too much longer. I think just about half a day or a little more than that, and it'll be done. Got it all planted. So now we're just pushing the water, try to get it across as fast as we can. The dirt is just really dry. There's hardly any moisture in it at all, and it sucks any moisture in the plugs out really quickly, and they dry out really fast. So just trying to get across it, and yeah, it's looking good. I noticed this morning in this corner of the field down here that the plants aren't looking too good. For some reason we're losing some of them. It's not a huge area, but you hate to lose any, especially in a 5-acre planting. And this whole row right here, they're all kind of wiped out. We thought it might be worms chewing on the roots. They can get some maggots in there, and that's what we put insecticide in the ground for, but I dug up a couple and I didn't see any. So I don't think it's that. It might be spray damage from the herbicide. I don't know what's going on. Might have to call somebody and get a second opinion on it. Well, it's kind of looking worse and worse out here. Over the past week, it seems like the plants are just kind of going downhill for some reason. We sent a couple samples over to Oregon State University, and they're going to take a look at them. They said it could be blackleg, which is the disease in brassica crops that infects the root and the stem, and the plant just kind of dies. It definitely seems like it's worse on the males than the females, I was noticing. So these are the females here. They look pretty good still. Big and full. And then the next row over are the males. And there's a lot of them just look like this. Right in the bottom of the stem. Looks like it's just getting weak and falling over. So that's not too good of news. A little defeating. But I'm just waiting to hear and hoping it doesn't keep spreading. They said it shouldn't keep spreading. It said it should stay kind of where it is. But the plants that have it are going to have it. They shouldn't infect other plants. But I don't know too much about it, so I'm waiting to hear back from them, see what they say. One other thing I thought was kind of peculiar is that a couple of the rows are really bad. Like one row is bad, and then a little ways over in the field there's another row that's also bad. You can see it right here. And there's not too many plants surviving on this row. And the row right next to it, they're all pretty good. So this is female over here, which are better. And then this one's males, which is really bad. And the one next to it is also males, and they're a lot better. Which, I don't know what that is. It could be maybe spray damage. Maybe the spray got doubled up on a pass or something. I'm not sure. It's kind of weird. The cabbage has really been growing over the last couple weeks. Gotten some size on them, and it's looking better. We ended up having someone from the extension office over at Oregon State University come out and look at it, a pathologist, and she said that it was blackleg. She thought it was blackleg on the plants that were dying, which causes the base of the stem to kind of wither up, and then it shuts off giving resources to the rest of the plant. And so we ended up putting a fungicide spray on, and we were told that that'll stop the disease from spreading to other plants, but the ones that were infected probably weren't going to make it. And that seems true for most of the field, but there are some that actually ended up growing. Some that lost its leaves after transplanting, put out new leaves, and they're looking pretty good. I'll show you a couple right here. So this is obviously a nice healthy one, and this was one that lost all its leaves and then decided to keep growing, about half the size. There's a couple of them right there, and more of them down the row. So yeah, that was pretty encouraging, seeing those ones that decided to keep growing for us. But now let's start to shut down for the winter. Starting to get the colder mornings, and it won't be too long before we get a frost. They grow a little bit through the winter, but just like me, they get a little lazy and don't do too much. Kind of hibernate through the season, and then next spring they really put some size on them. But yeah, looking good. So now we just have to hope like crazy we don't get any really hard freezes, and we've lost some fields in the past due to like temperatures in the teens for a couple days can wipe out a field like this. That's not too usual for us, but it has happened, so we just keep our fingers crossed that we don't get those cold temperatures like that.
Cabbage update, it's raining. We've been getting some cold temperatures here this last week. I think it was down to about 26 last night, and it's been doing that for the last 5 days or so. But luckily it's been warming up enough during the day. It's been up into the high 30s and even low 40s, so I think the cabbage will pull through this. Definitely makes us a little worried though. I don't like seeing these cabbage plants out here frozen like that. When they freeze, they kind of droop over a little bit and they don't look that good, but I think they'll pull through okay. But yeah, we just have to keep hoping we don't get colder temperatures than we're getting, and it seems like they're still growing even in this winter conditions. Getting bigger and bigger, and I think they're looking pretty good. So happy Thanksgiving. We've been getting a lot of nasty weather lately, a lot of wind and rain, and the river's been getting up pretty high. The lower spots out on our farm have some water in them. Luckily this field's up high enough that it's got to get really bad before water comes out into this field. I think only one time we've had water out in this field, and that was a big flood. That was a real mess. The field right next to it had water out in it, and the fields over there have water in it, so definitely makes you a little nervous, and you just have to hope the river doesn't keep coming up. But other than that, we're hanging in there. Merry Christmas. It's kind of a nasty day out here, but we're working on cutting cabbage heads. So some varieties are worse than others, but they tend to form a head of cabbage, which is what you want when you're producing the crop for cabbage. But we're growing this for the seed, and when it forms a head, it prevents the plant from bolting, and the bolt is what makes the seed. So in order for it to bolt, we have to come through and split open the heads. It's not every plant out here, but most of them have a pretty big head on them. They can get pretty tight and compact in there, and then they can't push out the bolt from the top. So we have some hand tools that we use. It's a handle maybe a couple feet long, and there's a short knife on the end of it. And we come through and slice them open kind of in an X, and it opens the plants up, and we just kind of push it down like this, and then the bolt can come out right through the middle there. And this really encourages new growth too. Like a couple weeks from now, they'll be looking a lot different, most likely. This does make them more susceptible to disease though, when they're open like this, and especially in these wet, warmer weather conditions, they can really get infected pretty easily. So we'll probably come back through here in a couple more days after we're done opening the heads and apply a fungicide. Our dad's getting ready to spray the cabbage. I thought I'd go chase him around a little bit, make sure he does a good job.
When we lay out the field to plant, we leave spray rows every 40 feet for the sprayer to drive. That's what these skips in the field are for, which is the width that the booms can reach. This is the only way we could spray and fertilize the cabbage later in the season, after it has gotten tall and filled in.
Cabbage has really been changing shape lately. Over the last couple of weeks, it seems like it's just growing every day. They're really bolting now, and you can see a big difference between the males and the females. The females over here are a little ways behind the males. Males are just growing like crazy. We just came through recently and put in a bunch of wooden stakes. These varieties of cabbage don't stay upright on their own. They'll tend to get bushy and fall over when they get big, and so we come through and string them up to give them some support to keep them upright. But the males we don't worry about too much because we're not going to be harvesting them. We just need to get them to pollinate the females, and then we'll take the males out so we don't string them up. They're not quite ready for the string yet. We just wanted to get out here while we had some time to do it, and then once they get a little taller we'll come out with some string and put a couple up over the course of the summer. I'm getting ready to fertilize now. I got the fertilizer spreader loaded up, and I'm going to go ahead and start spreading. Cabbage is in full bloom right now. We got some bees out here. We brought them in last week and they're really working them hard, which is good. We really need the bees to help us with the pollination. The flowers synced up pretty good on the males and the females. Sometimes the females can be ahead or the males can be ahead a little bit, and we have to come back in and manually set them back, like clip the tops or mow them a little bit, so then they bloom again and sync with the other variety. But we got pretty lucky this time and they both bloomed at the same time. We're getting some hot weather. It was 85 today, and if it keeps up like this, we'll probably have to get some water going out here pretty soon, some irrigation.
About a month later, the plants had finished blooming and it was time for the males to come out. I think the male plants typically have hurt feelings about this and feel pretty used, but what are you gonna do? We use our 4-foot flail to grind them up. It's really important to get all the male plant so we don't harvest any of it on accident. It's not too long until harvest now. The seed heads are filling up and the plants are starting to dry out a little bit. We're still irrigating, but not for too much longer. In the past, we've usually cut these small cabbage fields by hand with clippers, but this year we wanted to try our swather. After cutting a pass, we got out to look and definitely saw some seed pods were getting shattered from the swather, which is not what you want because the seed gets scattered on the ground and is a loss. But after some hemming and hawing, we decided it was probably a small percentage and decided to cut the rest of the field. It takes a lot of time and money to cut them by hand, so our best guess was that we were making the right economical decision. It all came down to this: a 337-day growing season, and we are now combining it. You can barely even enjoy it. The field is so small. I think it only took about 30 minutes to get across this whole field. It makes me nervous combining these smaller acre, high value crops because it seems like by the time you're finally confident you have the machine set right, you're already halfway done with the field. If you have something set wrong and you're losing a lot of seed out the back, or if some of the seed is getting crushed or shattered or whatever, you're losing a lot of money really fast.
Well, you want that reel up there, just pick that up. Just come and watch it. It's in the tank.
Yeah, it really lifts it, huh?
Yeah, you just barely want it. If you go too fast, you'll know how easy it is.
This is Albert. He's celebrating his 40th year on the farm this summer, and it's just about the nicest guy you'll ever meet. He was talking about how you want the combine header to pick up the cabbage row as gently as possible so you don't lose any seed before it gets into the combine. This red combine is his baby. He spent countless summer days in the driver's seat combining the many different crops we have. After we finished up combining, we brought the combine up to the shop yard to unload the seed into a box. I gotta admit, we were a little taken aback when we looked in the back of the combine and saw such a small pile of seed in there. We were hoping for around 1,000 pounds of seed, and we figured we got at least that, but it just looked like so little in the combine. I lifted the box up with the skid steer, and Albert hit the unload button on the combine and dumped it into the box. One time a couple of years ago, my dad and I were doing this same thing, and we were both real happy and excited to be doing this final step. But I was using a smaller loader tractor, and we didn't realize how heavy the box was getting. And I felt the tractor starting to tip forward, so I had to slam the box to the ground and spilled some in the process. That was one of our more famous moves. Now we just use a skid steer or forklift to do that. The combine doesn't completely empty out all the seed, so on these smaller crops we always take the time to get as much of it as we can, either just by hand or with a vacuum. Growing hybrid cabbage, I've found there are 4 progress points that are always a huge relief to make it past. The first one is getting through transplanting and getting all the plants watered up and growing. The next one is making it through the winter and not losing the crop to cold temperatures. The third milestone is to get the crop combined and, quote, in the box. The saying, "the field is in the box," is a favorite amongst us specialty seed crop growers, and it always feels good getting to use it. And then the fourth sigh of relief comes when you open the middle box and see the check from the seed company after the seed has been delivered and everything checked out. In between harvesting this year's crop and planting next year's, it's always good to reflect on the things you've learned and figure out what you'll do different on the next go around. The problem with cabbage is we have about 7 days to do this. Hey, where's the transplanter parked again?